This video is sponsored by Express VPN, but more on that shortly. So these are the 2026 RPGs with a few that mix a few genres together that I am personally, at the very least, interested in. Let's begin starting with the ones that have actual specific day release dates. Solasta 2 is a turn-based, party-based, single and up to 4-player co-op RPG that uses Dungeons & Dragons style tabletop mechanics using the SRD 5.2 rule set, but with its own unique universe and unique subclasses. You will be controlling a party of 4 customizable siblings reuniting for their orphanage mother's death, and her death has something to do with an ancient and corrupting force, and this will have you exploring the fantasy continent of 𝑁𝑜𝑡𝑒, making strategic choices in both exploration and combat, where of course dice rolls and tactics will be playing a big role. It's currently set to launch into early access on March 12th on Steam, but do note that the multiplayer will be coming at a later time in early access, and consoles are planned as well, but not until 1.0 or later. Early access is expected to launch with about 10 to 15 hours of playable content, but you're looking at more like 40 to 50 plus hours on official release. Why I'm excited? Well, the first Solasta was quite impressive for a small studio's debut game, and Solasta 2, like the first one, prides itself on being quite faithful to D&D rules and mechanics, and these were implemented very well in the first Solasta, so I'm sure that they'll nail that aspect again. And on top of that, it seems quite evident that for this second game, the devs are really stepping up their games when it comes to overall quality, even going as far as getting several very, very prominent voice actors on board. Greedfall, The Dying World, previously referred to as Greedfall 2, is a narrative-driven, real-time with pause, single-player party-based RPG being developed by Spiders. It's a prequel to the original Greedfall set about 3 years prior, and it's a story about stopping foreign captors who are attempting to basically exterminate your people and take over your lands, and you actually start off as a captive. And this game will be blending third-person exploration with narrative-driven quests, faction politics, and one major change from the first game is that this game will introduce real-time with pause combat, similar to, you could say, Dragon Age Origins combat style, that type of system. I should note though that there does appear to be a mode that you can activate that centers more on your character, making it so you don't have to actually control the rest of your team, a little bit more action focused. This game should have many RPG feeling systems, a character creator with attributes, talents, and abilities. There's 8 total unique companions, a focus on choice, consequence, and being able to fight, negotiate, or of course sneak your way through the many challenges, and it's set in a European Age of Discovery type fantasy world. It has been in early access for a while now, with official release set for March 10th on PC. Just 2 days later, March 12th, it will be coming out on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. Although the timing is kind of bad for myself, I am interested in this one. I thought they had some really cool ideas and nice RPG mechanics when I played a couple-hour session of it, I don't know, like a year ago or so. Early access reviews are currently mixed, but hopefully this 1.0 release can change that. But before we go any further, let's take a moment to talk about this video sponsor, Express VPN, the virtual private network that continues to set the standard for VPN services. So what exactly does a VPN do? Well, it is a versatile tool with many uses, but the 3 biggest benefits are online privacy, data security, and content unblocking. For me, security is a big one, as my service on the go isn't always great, and when I'm traveling and I'm in airports, hotels, coffee shops, etc., public Wi-Fi is everywhere, but unsecured networks are a breeding ground for hackers and data thieves, so without a VPN, there's no way I'm connecting to any of them. When using Express VPN, however, my traffic is encrypted as it wraps it in a secure tunnel, keeping my data protected and making it a hacker's worst nightmare. Another huge perk is unblocking content from around the world, as streaming platforms like Netflix and Hulu have different libraries depending on the country that you're in. But with ExpressVPN, you can easily switch your IP address across 105 different countries, unlocking thousands of additional shows and movies. For example, Netflix US currently doesn't have The Office or Friends, 2 shows that I like to watch, but a quick IP switch to the UK or Canada, and that problem is solved. There's a ton of uses for ExpressVPN, and if you want to try it out yourself, you can get up to 4 extra months for free by clicking the link in the description, scanning the QR code on screen, or heading to expressvpn.com/wolfheart. Back to the video. Crimson Desert is an open-world, single-player action-adventure game being developed by Pearl Abyss, so not technically an RPG, but I think it will still attract many RPG fans like myself, so I wanted to include it on this list, and some people might even call it an action RPG. This game is set in the vast high fantasy continent of 𝑝𝑢𝑟𝑐, where you'll be following the mercenary Cliff and his scattered Greymane companions as they fight to reclaim what's been lost. Interestingly enough, even though Cliff is the main character, you will at some point also unlock two other unique characters that you can freely do open world activities with. I don't believe you can progress the main story itself with those characters, though. You have to play as Cliff to do that. This game features intense real-time combat, exploration in a world that's twice the size of Skyrim, resource gathering, NPC interactions, a narrative-driven journey, flying mounts, hot air balloons, walking mounts, fishing, mechs, puzzles, a fortress assault type system. I could probably go on for another 5 minutes. I'm not even kidding. There's a lot. It's currently slotted to release on March 19th for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. Now, why? I'm excited, and many others are excited as well. I think it's fair to be a bit skeptical considering how ambitious this game appears to be and how much there is, but everything that they've shown so far has looked really, really good. The world is beautiful, and at the very least, I think it goes without saying that the combat and exploration looks like it's going to be a blast. I also really appreciate that the devs are advertising this game as an action adventure, because too many studios these days like to throw that RPG tag on their games, which actually leads to fan expectations not being met, which leads to disappointment from players like myself when you go into a game that you're thinking is going to be, an actual RPG. Now, sure, it does have RPG elements, but I think what we're looking at here is just a fun open world action game. And I appreciate that honesty, and we'll be coming into this one with those types of expectations, and I'm excited. Gothic 1 Remake is a single-player action RPG being developed by Alchemia Interactive and published by THQ Nordic. It's a ground-up remake of the cult classic 2001 fantasy RPG Gothic. It's rebuilding the original in Unreal Engine 5 with, of course, modern visuals, some expanded quests, apparently, dynamic NPC behavior, and refined systems. It does all this while appearing to also preserve that gritty, old-school feeling of the original. Players will be assuming the role of the nameless hero, a prisoner thrust into the brutal colony, which is a lawless mining encampment where survival, faction politics, and exploration define your journey. This game now has an official release date of June 5th of this year for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. Why I'm excited? Well, I never played the OG Gothic games before, believe it or not, but when I hear about old school cult classics, I always get excited. Gothic has always had a very passionate fan base, and from what I hear, it can offer a bit of a challenge too, which is music to my ears. I like a little bit of challenge in my RPGs. Gothic is also known for having really good dynamic NPC systems, where NPCs are actually living their lives and not just standing in one spot, and that's really big for immersion points. Just heard a lot about the original Gothic series, and I'm excited to finally jump into it in a more updated version. Hopefully they can nail it. Fellow YouTuber Click4Gameplay does have a great catalog of Gothic vids on his channel, with more to come if you're looking for someone to watch. Okay, on to the games that have 2026 release time periods now. Like, they actually told us a time period that it should be coming out, starting with Emberville and Outward 2, but quick little warning, both of these games are early access releases, so skip 2 chapter markers ahead if you're looking for more full releases. Emberville is a single-player action-adventure pixel art RPG being developed by Cygnus Cross, which is co-owned by Carnage, and it blends fast-paced combat, exploration, and dungeon delving with town rebuilding and life sim elements. Players will awaken with no memories inside a mysterious underground world and will be fighting through procedurally generated dungeons, gathering loot, leveling up their character and class or classes, rescuing survivors, and ultimately helping restore the ruined settlement of Emberville. Expect a ton of systems in this game, such as farming, crafting, building, growing, fishing, mining, and so on. And as you rebuild the town, new mechanics and NPCs will be unlocked. Emberville currently has a summer 2026 early access release for PC, but Consoles should also be a thing whenever the full release rolls around, according to 𝑗 on his Reddit page. I think that's him. One of the reasons why I'm excited is because I've not really played many pixel type games in a long time, and this one looks pretty cool to me for some reason. It's pulling my eye. I like the art direction. I really like how it has some actual RPG and ARPG looking systems in it, such as the character progression system that allows you to multi-class so you can create unique tailored builds. I also think it's a really cool idea to make a game that has some elements from ARPGs like Diablo, such as, dungeon crawling and looking for that loot, but also elements from cozy sim games like Stardew Valley. It's an interesting combo, and this game continues to pull my interest. Outward 2 is a single-player and two-player co-op open-world action RPG with survival elements, and it's being developed by 9 Dots Studio as the sequel to one of my favorite indie games of all time, Outward, from 2019. Outward 2 emphasizes a grounded, semi-realistic adventuring experience where hunger, weather, exhaustion, and preparation choices matter just as much as your actual combat skills. In this game, you'll not be playing as the standard power fantasy hero. You're just a regular person surviving in this brutal world of 𝑑'Or, and you better be sure to carefully prepare and plan before each dangerous journey. You will die, I promise you. Outward 2 will feature a dynamic world with seasons, distinct starting scenarios. Always love systems like that. Deep survival systems, but also a main story that involves content-changing faction choices. There's side quests, hidden dungeons with powerful loot. It really is an action RPG that mixes with survival, two genres that I personally think can go really well together. Outward 2 is currently planned to launch into early access in summer of 2026 for PC, but 1.0, whenever that may be, will include consoles. I'm personally really excited for this one because the first Outward, although very indie and low budget, indie is actually a really good thing, especially these days, but it was a low budget game and you could see that it had some jank, etc. Still turned out to be a really, really special experience, and design-wise, these developers really know how to make systems that are actually meaningful and engaging, such as the way that they handle exploration. Next up is Fable, a single-player open-world action RPG being developed by Playground Games. This is a reboot of the beloved Fable series, reimagining the whimsical fantasy world of Albion with modern visuals and gameplay. This is meant to be a vibrant world, of course. And in some ways, it does appear to have the franchise's signature blend of choice and consequent storytelling, British humor, and that fairy tale charm. This game will let you shape your own semi-customizable hero's journey. There is a character creator, but it's a bit limited, although it does offer more choices than the OG Fables. And the decisions that you make are said to affect how NPCs and the world will respond to you. A lot of reputation systems going on here. Combat will of course be a big focus with a classless type system, so you can focus in on one playstyle or mix a few together. Exploration will be a big part of it, of course. It is an open world game, and the game will feature some life sim elements such as buying a home or homes, getting married, having kids, or owning businesses. Fable currently has an autumn 2026 release timeframe for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. Now, why I'm excited? Well, I'll first say we have not seen enough yet to know how this game will turn out, and I've definitely seen some valid concerns out there. With that said, though, my initial impressions from the developer direct were positive, and I'm kind of itching for a fairy tale setting, and Albion is perfect for that. I gotta say, the world that we've seen so far is absolutely beautiful. I also tend to really appreciate RPGs that have immersive life sim elements, and this game appears to be checking at least some of those boxes, with NPCs having entire daily routines. So I'll be keeping a close watch on this one. I'm positive right now. Hopefully they don't let us down. The Blood of Dawnwalker is an open-world dark fantasy action RPG, single player, but I should also throw in sandbox narrative RPG, as that is one of the main big appeals here. It's being developed by Rebel Wolves, a studio composed of and actually formed by ex-CDPR devs, some notable ones. This game will feature a set protagonist named Cohen, who is a young man caught between humanity and vampirism. He's a Dawnwalker. And in the daytime, he'll be in his human form, able to use a form of human magic called hexes. While at nighttime, he assumes his unique vampire form with all the cool special vampiric powers that come with that. Cool thing here is that you will be able to choose if you want to do quests in the day or night, which changes not only your playstyle, but also solutions to quests as well. The idea behind the story is that brutal vampires have taken over Val Sangora. They're running the place now. They took it over from some brutal feudal lords. So it went from one crazy, authoritarian ruler to the next. And this next one sucks blood and takes a blood tax, which is kind of crazy. But Cohen, who was recently turned into a Dawnwalker, is in a unique position to help out his people and potentially rescue his family, but he only has 30 days and 30 nights to rescue his family. Do note that only specifically marked quests will actually push time forward in this game, so you can explore with no feeling of being rushed, and even after the 30 days is over, the game apparently doesn't actually end. You can keep on playing, but I think your family dies if you have not rescued them by that time. Dawnwalker is said to blend narrative-rich storytelling, choice-driven gameplay, and visceral real-time combat in a Gothic 14th century world where every decision carries weight. They're really focusing in on that choice consequence, which ties into that sandbox narrative description that we hear so often. It's really up to you how you want to approach this game's narrative, doing quests in the daytime or night or both, choosing your alliances if you want any alliances, and even having the freedom to confront the game's main antagonist very early on in the game if you want to. That's not advised though. Dawnwalker has a 2026 release timeframe for PC and consoles. They did say 2026 in January of this year, so hopefully they're really feeling confident in this year being the year. I'm assuming that it's going to be a Q3 or Q4 release. And the reason why I'm excited for this one, it's actually my most anticipated game on this list, is that I really appreciate that dark, gritty medieval atmosphere. The game looks very mature. And I'm really interested in testing out those sandbox narrative elements, as that's about as RPG as it can come in terms of giving freedom to players to decide how to handle their goals. Forsaken Realms: Vahrin's Call is an action RPG adventure being developed by the small, passionate studio known as Titan Rock. It's set in a handcrafted high fantasy world where you'll play as a customizable mercenary answering the call to aid a besieged city. This game is narrative driven. You can expect real-time combat, exploration, questing, puzzles, tons of weapons and armor, traps, alchemy, and it features a flexible character progression system as there are no fixed classes, so you can, for example, be an archer that also slings fireballs. As of right now, it's expected to release in 2026 for PC and possibly consoles at a later date. Now, the reason why I'm super excited for this one is that it truly looks like it's going to be an indie gem of a game. I've been following this game's development for many years now, and it's only continued to improve and look better and better. The devs even announced that the game will be fully voiced. As a very, very small team, from what I understand, many of the devs actually work full-time jobs outside of making this game. It's really impressive to see how far it has come along, and you can just kind of see the passion in some of the footage that they've shown. Highly recommend wishlisting this one at the very least to show your support. Warhammer 40k Dark Heresy is an upcoming story-driven, party-based CRPG. Single player, I believe, being developed by Owlcat Games, set in the grim Gothic sci-fi universe of Warhammer 40k. You will be playing as a customizable acolyte whose warband was tasked with investigating corruption, heresy, and conspiracies in the decaying Calixis sector. The game combines tactical turn-based combat with investigative, choice-driven gameplay where dialogue, evidence gathering, and moral ambiguity will shape your journey, just like in previous Owlcat games. The game is currently out in its alpha form for backers, but it seems very, very likely that 2026 will be the year that it enters into its beta form for PC, which is when I'll be jumping in to check it out. Why I'm excited though? Well, it's Owlcat, and they're known for having a lot of depth in their CRPGs, which I greatly respect. And now that they have good experience with pure turn-based CRPGs after making Rogue Trader, I'm excited to see what they come up with this time around. Also, I'm hoping Owlcat can get me into some 40k lore, as I don't know much about it. I've never really been into it before, but I'm trying to stay open-minded, and this is going to be the game where I'm going to actually try to take some of that in and hopefully enjoy it. Fellow YouTuber Slandered Gaming is a great source for all Owlcat games, including Dark Heresy. Clockwork Revolution is an upcoming first-person action RPG with strong steampunk and time manipulation themes, and it's being developed by inXile Entertainment. This game is set in the steam-powered metropolis of Avalon, and you'll be playing as a customizable protagonist who discovers an extraordinary invention called the chronometer, which allows you to travel into the past and reshape history. Choices you make in earlier moments in this game are said to influence the present world and its characters, so plenty of narrative reactivity with branching consequences, just the type of RPG system that many of us love to engage with. The studio didn't actually announce 2026 yet, as far as I'm aware, but that seems to be the expectation. I think there was like some insider report that one of them said 2026 was they're aiming at it or something like that. But I decided to include it in this video because that's kind of what people are thinking right now. I'm personally really excited for this one, as it just looks and sounds quite unique with that, you know, the time bending mechanics, and the gameplay also just looks like a ton of fun. I like to switch it up and, you know, play an FPS RPG every once in a while. Also, inXile, the studio behind this game, has an overall, I'd say, pretty solid track record with RPGs. Tides of Annihilation is a single-player upcoming fantasy action adventure, somewhat RPG, that blends mythic Arthurian legend with a post-apocalyptic modern London. It's being developed and published by Eclipse Glow Games, and players will be assuming the role of Gwendolyn, the lone survivor of a mysterious invasion that has torn the city apart. She'll be searching for her sister and the truth behind the cataclysm, and along the way she'll gain the ability to summon and command spectral knights drawn from legend, and be able to use their unique abilities to fight hostile enemies and colossal demigod foes. This post-apocalyptic environment looks ripe for exploration with these transformed environments. I don't know, it just looks really cool. The art direction is amazing. Tides of Annihilation is widely expected to release in 2026, with insiders reporting between September and October, but that's certainly not a guarantee. And it will be coming out for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. Why I'm excited? Well, I love twists on Arthurian legend. Shout out to indie RPG Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, one of my favorite games last year. And this game just looks really cool. Combat looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. I love this boss fight footage, and that art direction is something else. I'm excited for that. Thank you all so much for watching. And actually, now that I think of it, Path of Exile 2 might be coming out this year. So if you like ARPGs, keep an eye out for that one. That will be PC and console. I really like what I played in early access, so I'm excited for that game's full release. Other than that, there's probably going to be a lot more games that come out this year that I didn't include on this list because they either don't have 2026 labeled right now, or maybe I'm just not that interested in them. But let me know the games that you're excited for this year, so if I did miss one, I can look into it. I might just not have been that interested in it, but I also might have missed it. So catch y'all in the next one.